Last year, I travelled to Scotland to drive the Kia EV9, their 7-seat all-electric premium SUV. I loved the challenging styling, onboard tech, and most impressively, the way it drove. I was clearly not the only one to like it, as the EV9 went on to win World Car of the Year 2024 and World Electric Vehicle 2024. It's now time for Kia to bring that kind of car to the mass market. This time, I didn't go to Scotland. But I'm here in Frankfurt today to take a look at this, the brand new Kia EV3. So if the EV9 is their halo product, this is an EV aimed at bringing that technology to the masses, trickling down all of the innovations in EV9. And there's certainly plenty to talk about, but off the bat, it's quite edgy. You know, sometimes with concept cars, the concept bears very little resemblance to the actual production car. Not so much with EV3, it was the same with EV9. The renders that I've seen of this car, the press pack that we were sent before we had it revealed this morning, you think, no, it's not going to look like that. Well, it really does. And for me, it's like a shrunk wrap EV9. It's got a very edgy design, and I've mentioned that word already, and the chief designer who was responsible for this car used it, so I'm really happy with using that. It's chunky and angular and muscular and interesting to look at from lots of different angles. So let's explore that design a little bit. So this car follows Kia's design philosophy called Opposites United, and I want to talk through some of the elements that for me stand out. The front end, the terminology that Kia uses is a digital tiger face. You can see a family resemblance running through their range. But when you look at the car from the front, the standout feature are these lights, the two daytime running lights running across the top going into that front seam there and then down the side here, and you've got this cluster of lighting elements. When you look up close, it's really quite an impressive thing. And then this is the GT line model. I'll talk more about the different models and so on in a moment. But the GT line has this gloss black radiator section here. And the body color, the way it pushes everything out to the side, it just makes the car look wide and muscular. And then there's some really clever aero work here. So these are active aero flaps that at speeds over, I think it was 80 kilometers an hour, they engage to block up and increase the aerodynamic efficiency. The other thing which I can't show you is the underbody has a tray that covers 80% of the underbody to make underbody aero as efficient as possible. And although the car has a muscular, bulky stance, it has a really low drag coefficient, which is going to help it with efficiency and range. But yeah, front end, what a menacing view of that coming up behind you in your rear view mirror. You look back at that. I love the front end, it's very Judge Dredd. Standout feature for me as you walk down the side of the car, these angular gloss black wheel trims front and rear, and it just accentuates a really nice kind of bulky front and rear wheel arch. It makes it look squat and mean, and I love the wheel design. I'm also massively impressed, OCD boy here, with the way that the guys here have parked the car so that the Kia logo is perfectly horizontal on both front and rear wheels on both sides of the car. That took some thinking about. Charge flap just here, we'll talk about charging very soon. And then just the details as we come down, there's a combination of smooth lines and angles, and the whole car is like a teardrop shape as we come down the back. I love the contrast with the body color, the privacy glass section just here, roof rails, and then the car comes back down to quite an aggressive rear end of the car, and then the door opening is just hidden just there, which I think is a really nice touch, and these handles will disappear once the car's closed, and again nice and aerodynamic. Side all the way down, and you get now to the rear of the car. Some really nice details here as well. Light-wise, you've got these two light piece elements down here, again pushed out to the side of the car to accentuate its width and its stance. The spoiler here sticks out quite a long way from the rear glass, but that rear glass comes down, and again, it's all part of that aerodynamic teardrop shape. And then on this GT line, again, black detailing here with this body-coloured panel either side, again, just to make sure you can see that form so that this black isn't, if you like, lost within the body colour. This car sustainability message also continues into what it's made of. The EV3 is designed using 10 sustainable materials. The bumper is made of recycled plastic from automotive waste. The wheel guards are recycled PET, the material used to make food and drink packaging. On the inside, the door trim, crash pad and sliding console table are all made from recycled material. The steering wheel uses bio paint, and even the floor mats are made from recycled plastic. All in all, the car contains 28.5 kilograms of recycled plastics. This car is very much aimed at being a family's only car, and if that's the case, it needs to be as practical as possible. So if we just open up the boot, it has a very healthy sized boot. So in the rear, we've got 460 litres with the seats up, 1,250 litres if you drop the seats. And there's also a clever floor, so you've got some underfloor storage here, and you can drop the height of the floor depending on what you want to load in and out and how much stuff you're going to get. And you've got a nice little roller shutter blind just here. And up front you get a little frunk. It's only 25 litres, but it's just big enough for your charge cable so they don't have to clog up your boot, which is a real pet hate of mine when you have an EV. But I also like the fact that Kia have just covered this front area with this plastic cover to tidy things up, because when you often raise the bonnet of an EV, they're never the prettiest things underneath. But this just tidies things up really nicely. Nice little cable storage to place there. Very smart. EV3 will be available in 2 trim levels and 2 range options. Standard range will only be available in base trim. It has a 58.3 kilowatt hour battery and a 150 kilowatt or 204 horsepower motor on the front axle. The standard range model is the quickest in the 0 to 62 dash in a respectable 7.4 seconds and has a WLTP range of 254 miles. The long range model is available in base and GT line trim. It's the GT line we have in the studio today. This has the same motor and a larger 81.4 kilowatt hour battery with a class leading WLTP range of 348 miles. That would require the car to average 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour, so I think real world range of 300 miles is achievable. The long range model is a little slower to 62 at 7.7 seconds. Let's talk charging. I'll just open up the little charge cap here. So it's going to support AC charging for when you're at home, but it's also got DC charging. So the standard model will do 102 kilowatts. The long range version will do 128 kilowatts. Now, even though the batteries are slightly different sizes, that means on a rapid charger, you're going to get a 10 to 80% charge in around about half an hour, which is, if you like, I know we say it all the time, but it's got a really long range. So by the time you run that range down, you're going to need to stop and use the facilities. And while you do that, you can stick another good amount of range in the car. But the car also supports V2X, which we've seen in Kia EV9. So V2X, there's 3 of them. You've got vehicle to load, so you can plug stuff into this car, a laptop to charge it, a car vacuum, an e-bike, something like that. But there's also vehicle to home, so you could have this car plugged in at home, and effectively the battery pack in the car becomes a little bit like a Tesla Powerwall. And it also does vehicle to grid, so you could, if you had a solar array at home, you could capture energy from your solar array, put it into the car, and then feed that energy back into the grid when your tariffs are favourable. The last 2 options, vehicle to home and vehicle to grid, are very market dependent though, as to whether you're able to do that, but the car can. Now this interior is quite a special place. There's trickle down from EV9. The most obvious one is this big triple screen display. You've got a main screen in front with your traditional instrument binnacle cluster. You've then got a dedicated, although it looks like one screen, it's actually 3 screens. A dedicated screen here for your climate control, but you do have physical buttons here as well, so you can turn the temperature up and down and adjust the fan speed. And then your main infotainment screen there, which is the same size as the instrument binnacle. That's I think, really nicely done. But it's the materials choice in here. There's a huge sustainability message with this car, so much so that in front of the passenger down there's actually a QR code. So while you're passengering in the car and you're a bit bored and you want to have a think about things, if you scan that QR code, it takes you to Kia's sustainability website, and you can find out all about the materials in this car, where they came from, where they were sourced. There's a lot of recycled plastics and materials in here. But the choice, there's a really nice kind of fabric material here. They wanted it to feel homely, like your home, and I like that. It softens up the car a lot. But then you've got really nice contrast, like this sort of brushed aluminium effect here and on the doors. Little things I really like. On the door here for the driver, I've got my heated and cooled seat controls, and the same on the passenger side. And then the driving position wise, sadly we're not going to be able to drive the car. This is a pre-production model, but hopefully we'll be doing that later this year. A really nice premium dual tone steering wheel, and all of the toys. A couple of really cool things in here. It depends on your generation, I'm sure. So first things first, there's a voice assistant, and this car has AI technology with ChatGPT. So one of the things, yes, you can interact with a car using touchscreen, but you can just talk to the car and ask it questions a little bit more sophisticated than can you turn the heating up. So if you were navigating into a city and you wanted to find a great restaurant or somewhere to park, you can ask the car to do that. And actually the car is going to be linked with TripAdvisor and ChatGPT. So there's quite an interactive and very intelligent voice assistant. Most of those functions aren't coming till the end of this year, so Q4 2024. You've also got a smart key, the ability to basically use your phone as the key to the car, and you can share that profile with up to 7 people. So if this is your only car, your family car, all the drivers in the family could have effectively their own key on their smartphone, and you can use that to lock, unlock and start the car. And then the last couple of things, this is quite neat. So there's loads of storage in the front. There's big bins down here. There's a couple of drinks holders. There's the wireless charge mat for your phone. You've got this really cool table. So the idea here is you've got half an hour to get your 10 to 80% charge. I need to do a bit of editing. I can slide this table forward, put my laptop on here and have a go with my laptop. Or if I was bored, what I could do is watch a movie, because the other thing that this infotainment system has is over-the-air updates. They have a number of different themes. So normally in a car, theme is just different colours, but they're going to have themes. So you could basically theme this based on a movie or, some kind of really cool designer, and you can choose what theme you want and download that onto your car. And you can also download entertainment, films and so on, and also games. So there's a real kind of feeling that when you are charging up and you want to spend time in the car, it's a useful space. It's like a little office on wheels, and I like it a great deal. But before we move on, I probably need to jump in the back and check out the rear passenger room with my lanky long legs. Do you know what? It's pretty decent, actually. Now, this seat is behind the driver. That's as far back, so I've probably got, 3 inches less there, but there's still plenty of room for me. And again, in this segment, I think the space inside is remarkable. It's been really well packaged. Plenty of head height. This car does have a sunroof. I'm going to call that a sunroof rather than a full glass panoramic roof. So the headlining here drops down a little bit, but I've still got plenty of headspace. And the electric car architecture, totally flat floor. And I've got charging points in the seats to power my consoles and my games. I've got heated seats in the back. It's a nice place to be, this. The EV3 is targeting the compact SUV segment, which is experiencing significant growth and currently accounts for nearly 30% of car sales. This segment is also seeing a rapid growth in EV powertrain vehicles. The EV3 will bring the innovations of the EV9 into this segment, with the main competitors including the Volvo EX30, Renault Megane E-Tech, Smart #1, and even popular family EVs outside of the compact SUV segment, like the VW ID3 and Cupra Born. So my final thoughts on Kia EV3, well, I'm a big fan of the EV9. I think that's one of the best EVs on the market, but clearly that's a very niche product. It's a very big car, big 7-seat, all-electric SUV. Price point is high as well, so it's out of reach of many, I'm sure. But what Kia have done with EV3 is take much of EV9's ethos and technology and filtered that down into a family car segment. And as we've just seen, this then brings Kia up against some of the market leaders. And I honestly think with class-leading range and really interesting looks, the trap we've fallen into with modern cars is so many of them look the same. I don't think you can say that that looks the same. It doesn't look like anything else. It's got edgy styling. It's just got interest. You can walk around. I've been walking around it for the last hour, and every time I look at the car, I see something different. The proof, however, will be in the driving. The range figure, to hit that range that we've stated, you're going to be needing to do just over 4 miles per kilowatt hour. Now, hopefully, the aerodynamics will help you do that. The efficient drivetrain will help you do that. But I'd really like to see just how close to that range I'd be able to get and what the car feels like to drive and what that infotainment system and advanced satellite navigation system is really going to be like. But what I can gain from a static studio tour around the car and talking to the guys from Kia who were responsible for designing the car is I think the market is in for an interesting time, because this car's coming, and I think it's going to do really, really well. I would love to know what you think. Please put it in the comments below, your thoughts on the new Kia EV3. And hopefully later on this year, I'll get to be behind the steering wheel and actually have a drive. But for now, I'm going to carry on looking at this car because I quite like it.